Welcome to the CP stage. I'm your host, Sandy Wisdom Martin. I serve with Women's Missionary Union. And joining me on the CP stage today are Ben from Lifeway, CEO and President of Lifeway Christian Resources, Nate Adams, Executive Director of Illinois Baptist State Association, and Carolyn Fountain, who is a member of the SBC Executive Committee. She is a former Louisiana WMU president, and she serves as a liaison between the Executive Committee and the Credentials Committee. Welcome to the CP stage. We're so excited about having you today. Well, let's just start off. The CP, that represents two letters that have a huge impact for the kingdom, both today and tomorrow. Think back, what are some of the first things that you participated in with the cooperative program gifts that were funded by the cooperative program? Can you think back that far? Who will go first?
That's quite a stretch, Sandy. I guess with me, it was being a church planter, just the resourcing and the availability of training events and support for the work that we were doing planting churches. I think that would be my memory of support.
Okay. Someone else. Ben? Nate?
Most of the things that I was experiencing at the time, I didn't know cooperative program funded. I went to RA camp at Lake Salatiska in Illinois, yes. And I was there as part of our state convention ministry that supports cooperative program. It is supported by cooperative program. My dad went to seminary. I didn't understand the cooperative program, but I wouldn't have been a pastor's son or had most of the life that I had if cooperative program hadn't provided his seminary days. And then later, when I started work with the North American Mission Board and became a church planter and so forth, that's when I really began to fully understand how much cooperative program does.
Yes.
I didn't grow up Southern Baptist, so my entry point was seminary. And had an unbelievable seminary experience. You know, people make jokes about seminary being the cemetery, and it wasn't for me. It opened up new doors for me, books and authors and thinkers I'd never been introduced to. And even today, now when I meet people who are going to non-Southern Baptist seminaries, I feel some pity for them because we have the best seminaries and it's affordable.
Yes.
It's affordable because of the cooperative program. It's so
Yes.
cheap that compared to other seminaries, so I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I went to seminary a long time ago, and there was a line that said, this is what you paid, this is what was paid by gifts to the cooperative program. So praise God for that. Nate, I've heard you talk about a precious resource that was given to you. It was your grandmother's commitment card to the $75 million campaign, which was a forerunner to the cooperative program. What does it mean to you to belong to a legacy family where generosity has been passed down for generations?
My grandparents died within 3 months of each other, and my mom and I were going through her things when we found that commitment card from my great-grandmother to the Baptist 75 Million campaign with her handwritten note across it from 1923, paid in full, that her $25 commitment to the campaign had been made. At the time, I was debating leaving a career in Christian publishing in the Chicago suburbs to go to the North American Mission Board. And as she told me about the sacrifice, what it would have meant for my great-grandmother to collect the money that was available to her, which was probably from selling eggs on their farm, that she saved it up over a course of 3 years to be able to give $25. So I have that framed and a little story about it that has hung over my desk all 9 years at North American Mission Board, all 18 years at Illinois Baptist State Association. It hangs over my desk to remind me that those are the people that make what we do possible.
Thank you. Well, Carolyn and Ben, like me, you have been North American Mission Board missionaries. What did the CP funding mechanism mean to you as a missionary?
Well, knowing that we had insurance and we had housing provided for us, you know, that kind of security enabled us to do our jobs. I mean, we were there to plant churches, and because we didn't have to worry about those things, you know, we were able to do that more effectively.
Yeah.
You know, I think every kid needs a parent, and for me, when I launched out as a church planter, just knowing I had the support of NAM, that I had backup, I had reinforcements, I had someone I could call in times of trouble, and not just doing it on my own. One time I was on an airplane with a guy. He looked about my age. We struck up a conversation, and he was a church planner. And I was like, really? I don't sit by a lot of church planners on planes. Well, he's a Presbyterian church planner. When I started outlining for him all the things that I get from being a Southern Baptist church planner, he was like, man, I want to be a Southern Baptist. Because we get so much provided for us to get our churches off the ground, because that first year is so hard to get momentum. And having an organization like NAM behind us, it made all the difference.
Wonderful. Well, what is the coolest thing that you've seen funded by the cooperative program? What's a really cool thing that you've seen?
Can I say this? This is not just self-serving, but it kind of is.
Okay.
It's not just what we get from cooperative program, but when we get to give the checks to Lottie and Annie every year from the camps. So all of our Fuge camps, all of our Century Kid camps, all of our student life camps, they take up an offering for IMB and NAM. And last year we gave over $500,000 to missions that we know is going to be well distributed. Because the cooperative program has the infrastructure in place, we can give that money and know that there's vetting, these missionaries are trained. It's not like we're just throwing money to the wind. Like, this is strategic investment.
And those dollars are going to go overseas.
Yes.
Immediately.
Or to
on
the
field.
or to the NAM church
Immediately.
plants. Yes.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
it's wonderful to be able to give to institutions that the cooperative program has built the infrastructure to make them strategic.
Yes. Very good. Nate?
We had an International Mission Board missionary zoom into our IBSA chapel a few weeks ago, and he's from a church in Southern Illinois. I know the church, I know the family. He was actually on our IBSA board before he went overseas, and he and his family, his 4 young children, had gone to a mission field where there were no known believers, a people group. And he said, we were told that we would probably spend our lives waiting for the first convert from this people group, and not to expect anything immediately until you had a chance to share the gospel. He said, we decided not to settle for that. We started praying for fast fruit. And he said, I want you to know we've been there a little over 10 years now, and we now have a congregation, small congregation of 16 believers that are thought to be the first ones in this people group that have happened in our generation, even though we were told not to expect that. That's one of the coolest things I've seen recently.
That is amazing.
It's possible.
That is amazing.
Well, I think the coolest thing for me, I didn't grow up Southern Baptist, and the coolest thing for me was just knowing that there was a cooperative program.
Yes.
You know, I was wowed when I learned that all of these churches cooperated to ensure that we could stay on mission, that we could send missionaries. And to me, that was cool.
You're absolutely right.
So.
Yeah. Well, Ben, your entity does not receive cooperative program funds. My auxiliary does not receive cooperative program funds, but we believe in the cooperative program. Why are you a cheerleader for the CP?
Well, one of the values at Lifeway is better together. We really believe that we can do a lot more together than we can individually. I don't know if you saw the movie Boys on the Boat. Did you see it?
Not yet.
So it's such a great movie about teamwork and how in a boat, it doesn't matter if you've got one person that rows really well. The team has to row together in synchronization for there to be success. And when we're at our best, Southern Baptists are rowing together towards the mission. And it's international missions, it's church planning. And I believe in giving to something that's bigger than ourselves. So for Lifeway, we don't take cooperative programs dollars, but it's great. Isn't it great to be a part of something larger than just our institutions?
Yes, it is.
That we're a part of a bigger vision.
It absolutely
is. And it's a blessing.
Well, let's talk about some hard things. During the tenure of my ministry over 3 decades, we've seen the cooperative program go from averaging about 10% per churches down to less than 5%. Why do you think that has happened, and what can we do about it?
I think there's a lot of generational dynamics there, not just in cooperative program giving, but in the culture, where there's more of a suspicion about institutions and distrust of things you don't actually benefit from or touch yourself. And I do think there's going to have to be a generational education that helps people understand that no matter what's happening in your own spiritual life, no matter how things are going at your church, when you give through the cooperative program, there are missionaries somewhere sharing the gospel. There are churches somewhere being planted. There are seminary students somewhere being prepared. And it's not just a cost benefit thing. It's not just something that I give to so that I receive benefit. It's as Ben said, it's something that I give to because it's greater than myself, and because no matter what's happening with me, I am part of something where the gospel is being shared by 3,500 missionaries and 900 church planters and 20,000 seminary students. That's all happening because my church participates in the cooperative program. I think it's an education thing in part.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I'm inclined to agree with Nate on that. I think over the years we have backed up on how we educate our children, for example, our GAs, our ACT teens. We're not teaching missions and the value of our missionaries and the value of service. So it is, and generationally, we have younger generations are more focused on having fun and doing things that are rewarding for them. So education, I think, is going to have to be where we go as far as keeping all of this awareness with our young people.
Well, I would agree with that. Is the cooperative program still relevant? You know, you hear rustling in the treetops that it's past its prime, it's over. Is it still relevant?
Absolutely. It's the foundation. I think there are times when you give an offering and you see exactly what it goes to, or you meet the person that it goes to. But in Southern Baptist Life, those people wouldn't be there if the foundation of the cooperative program didn't make it possible for the whole ecosystem to work, for the whole organism to work together. And it could be that new generations will have their own cause, like World War II or some of the things that birthed the cooperative program, that lets them see that the individual efforts won't be enough, but that collective effort and teamwork is what it will take to do the big things of God's mission. I mean, we can do small things by our own churches or regionally, but the big things of taking the gospel to the world, or meeting human needs, or speaking against evil in the culture, these things are really only possible when we work together.
Yeah, you're right.
I would say it's only going to stay relevant if we can get along. I really think a lot of things that are driving people away from cooperation is the exposure of our intramural squabbles. I preached yesterday at a church in Illinois on Romans 14, where Paul's trying to help the church understand that it's okay to disagree about festivals and food. And he says, let each one be fully convinced in his own mind. I think the future of the SBC, particularly in capturing the younger generation, the younger churches, is going to be creating an environment where it's okay to disagree on things that are not primary. If we can't get there, the convention is going to continue to get smaller and smaller. Cooperation will get smaller and smaller, and the cooperative program will be threatened greatly. So as much as I'm for education, I also think we need to rethink the way we dialogue with one another in public, the way we disagree with our brothers and sisters who may think about things differently, and remind ourselves that the cooperative program is about fueling missionaries, fueling church plants. It's not about agreeing on everything. And so I think we're at a critical moment right now where we're making decisions about who we're going to be.
I agree with you, Ben. Let me tell you about my church. My husband a year ago went to pastor a small church in Alabama, Shelby First Baptist Church of Shelby. We have 17 people voted when he became pastor. We rarely make budget. Our expenses always exceed our offerings. And we've cut everything we can cut. At the last business meeting, we voted to send back the dumpster. If there's trash, we'll just take it to our homes. That's what we voted to do. So every business meeting, we talk about what we can cut. Do you know what's never been brought up at business meeting? Giving to the cooperative program and Baptist causes. Our church gives 7% to the cooperative program, 3% to the association, 3% to the Baptist Children's Home, 3% to World Hunger, 16%. My tiny church sacrifices for the cooperative program and for Baptist causes. What would you say to First Baptist Shelby and thousands of other struggling churches just like her?
I think that's the beauty of the cooperative program. A small church like your church and like my church now can still be a part of something bigger than us. You know, we can do more together as churches than we can do as an individual church. So I think, you know, the cooperative program is still relevant because we have those small churches who have a heart for missions and a heart to give, and they can do a whole lot more.
And that is the beauty of the Southern Baptist Convention as well. I mean, when I go to our camps and I walk the parking lot of all the church vans, I love looking at the names on the church vans. It's like Old Hickory Baptist Church in the middle of nowhere. Like, there's so many small churches that love coming to camp because they cannot provide a great camp for themselves. In the same way, what the SBC has done is magic in that we bring all these smaller churches together who together now have resources, they have a lot more influence, and they love being a part, thinking that their little church is a part of something big in the world. And so, yeah, I think the cooperative program is just another expression of that.
Well, as we wrap up our time on the CP stage, I want to tell you about a resource that you can find at WMU, WMUstore.com. Just type in the cooperative program, and you can find a lesson that you can use to teach children about the cooperative program. Also available there are badges that when the children participate in the lesson, they can have a CP badge. I would like to thank our guest on the CP stage today for helping us have a discussion about the cooperative program. Thank you to each of you, and thank you listeners for watching and participating in the CP stage. We really can do more together.
Thank you.